The moment it hit me, it wasn't dramatic. It wasn't some movie scene breakdown. It happened in the kitchen. I was leaning on the counter, staring at a sink full of dishes, and realizing I was slowly becoming the man I spent my whole life trying not to be. My father. It happened after my conversation with my wife. After the talk where she told me she didn't want to live her mother's life because of the advice her father gave me. After I felt the weight of her childhood, my childhood, our reality, all pressing into the same moment. That night, when everyone else was asleep, I sat alone in the living room with nothing but the sound of the fridge humming. One of those quiet hours where the world feels too still. And I started thinking about my father. His tired face, his slumped shoulders, the way he used to stare into space like the world was too heavy for him. I used to judge him. I used to think, why weren't you rich? Why didn't you try harder? Why didn't you fight more? Why did you let life break you? But sitting there that night, I saw my own reflection in him. And I don't mean the physical kind of reflection, but the emotional version of myself I've been trying to ignore. The man who wakes up already tired, fighting every urge not to be angry and ungrateful for waking up. The man who feels like a failure before speaking a word. The man who carries guilt more than confidence. The man who watches his wife do everything and feels smaller every day because he can't do more. My father lived his whole life in that place, and I'm walking the same path, one quiet step at a time. And that's when the fear hit me. The real fear. What if this is who I was always going to become? My father never said he was drowning. He never admitted he felt invisible. He never told anyone how much it hurt to be a man who couldn't catch a break. I didn't understand that when I was younger. I thought he was weak, passive, disconnected. But now I understand the silence. The blank stares, the way he moved through life like he was apologizing for taking up space. Because I'm doing it too, and I hate that I see myself in him. But I also hate that I finally understand him. And something about that feels unfair, cruel. Like life tricked us both with the same blueprint. Generational cycles aren't always loud. Sometimes they're quiet, hidden, passed down through habits, insecurities, wounds we never healed, and rules we never questioned. Rules like, men don't talk about their pain, men endure, men keep going no matter what. My father followed those rules until they buried him. And here I am, realizing I've been following them too. Here's the truth I didn't want to admit. Not to myself, not to my wife, not to anyone. I am worried that I'm already the man my father-in-law advised me to become a few days ago. I am terrified of becoming my dad, the man who raised me to never shy away from my responsibilities as a husband. I am terrified I'm becoming him. And it's not because he was a bad man. He wasn't. He was gentle, soft-spoken, always put his desires second. He was kind in ways he never gave himself credit for. But he lived his whole life tired, afraid, ashamed of not being enough. And he died that way, still hoping tomorrow would finally be kinder to him. And I'm scared because sometimes I feel closer to that version of him than I ever wanted to be. The same guilt, the same exhaustion, the same pressure to provide without the ability to, the same quiet breaking behind the eyes. But the part that hurts the most is this. My father thought his suffering was noble, that silence was strength, that endurance was love. And I'm realizing now that staying silent isn't strength. It's surrender. Slow surrender. And I don't want to disappear the way he did. I don't want my kids to watch me shrink. I don't want my wife to think I've checked out. I don't want to carry this guilt until it becomes my personality. So I'm saying it out loud because he never could. I'm struggling. I'm lost. I'm scared. I don't know what I'm doing. And I don't want to become the broken parts of him. Maybe the only way to break the cycle is to admit the cycle exists. If you're listening to this and you feel that fear creeping in, the fear of becoming the kind of man you swore you'd never become, the fear of repeating pain you didn't ask for, you're not weak for feeling that. You're human. You're allowed to be tired. You're allowed to question everything you were taught. You're allowed to rewrite the script you inherited. You're allowed to change your destiny. I don't have an answer that'll make everything make sense, but I know I am not my father's mistakes. And you should believe you're not your father's mistakes too. You're not his wounds. You're not his silence. You're not his exhaustion. You're you. And you're still here, still trying, still fighting the invisible battle of demons only you knows about. And if you're dealing with this too, I'm Dad alone, and so are you. See you next week.